And, oh, let's see, is this today's Washington Post? Or yesterday? Yesterday's Washington Post, which is behind a paywall, but this has been archived, so I'll put the archive link so you can read it for free. But there's this interesting column by Dana Milbank, and he writes about how close our country is to being destroyed. Our democracy, or representative democracy, it's not a pure democracy, is close to just being completely ruined. And we know that the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol was really a warning sign that something was seriously broken with our country. And Trump, and it appears that several Congress people, according to, let's see if I can find that, Ali Alexander, let's see if I can find him. They were intimately involved. Let's see what we have. He said here, this was like 4 minutes ago, he said that he had contact with Republican lawmakers. So Mo Brooks, Paul Gosar, and Andy Biggs were all kind of involved in this stuff. And let's see how we want to say that, because I don't want to be wrong about it. But anyway, they interacted. These three guys interacted with Ali Alexander. And of course, he was the co-founder of the Stop the Steal movement. And that was a Roger Stone, also affiliated outfit. But this points to how bad, how close we came within inches of losing this country completely with that insurrection. And that was not child's play. And this so-called president that we had was intimately involved in that. But intimately, yet he could have plausible deniability because he wasn't right there in the building and so on and so forth. But but getting back to the main thing, this was a warning shot that we are seriously fucked as a country. And Dana Milbank, getting back to him, he talks about a woman who has written a new book that it's coming out in January. It's called How Civil Wars Start. And she studied conflicts in other countries and then applied the predictive techniques to this country. And this, yeah, I mean, history always does repeat itself, and we never learn anything from history. And this country has been on the downhill slide since, well, the 60s. Yeah, the 60s was mostly a reaction to the constrictive 50s. But there was the radical right grew out of the 50s and McCarthyism, and we had the outfit, the John Birch Society, which you don't hear much about anymore, but it's those people that took over the GOP by 1980 and gradually turned it full fascist. And even the Republicans of 1980 are not like the Republicans of today. But you know, both political parties are broken. I mean, you gotta say it, both sidersism, yeah, it is. Because both political parties are broken. And the Republicans are broken with full-blown fascism, while the Democrats are completely fucked up with postmodernist horse shit. Instead of focusing on things that are really important, no, it's all about feelings of perverse minorities. Perversity is all they care about. And then you got this kind of horse shit, and I don't know if this is, it's a Daily Mail, but you got this guy, this DA, Gascon or whatever the hell it is. I didn't bother to look up the pronunciation. But he wants to put restorative justice for these juveniles for certain crimes. Now look at this. Now this may not sound like it's a big deal. Sexual battery, assault, burglary. But note what the three things, what they have in common. They're boundary violations. And they all often escalate to murder, rape, robbery, all that kind of shit. And restorative justice doesn't work for criminals. I'm sorry. The point of this, of our criminal justice system, of our prisons, is not rehabilitation or trying to talk it out with the people that you've violated in various ways. The victims. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to keep the bad actors out of our society so our society can function. And our society is not functioning very well right now because the Democratic Party is being infiltrated by these fucktards like this guy and others, or their advisors, who think everything is narrative and nothing is material reality, and everything is subjective and all this other horse shit, and it's the perfect diversion away from what the other side is doing. So our country's fucked either way. It's totally fucked. And the only good thing about being almost 67 years old, and I have a birthday coming up next month, the only good thing about it is I'm not going to be around here forever to see the inevitable destruction of the United States. And I don't see any way that it can be reversed because our Democratic Party is asleep at the switch. They're focusing on minutia. They're not focusing on the big stuff. They're not focusing. They're throwing away so much of their traditional stances in favor of wacky crap. And the GOP, the same thing. And as I've mentioned before, and I know I'm on a stream of consciousness thing, but when I was young, I can remember when both political parties were saying, yes, even the GOP, despite all the seeds of its destruction back in the 60s and into the early 70s, there were a lot of honorable Republicans. But then the Birchers and the Koch types started taking over, and it's been, now it's they're so far off the beam, they talk about violence. They storm the Capitol. They get representatives in there who think it's okay to do that, to deny a duly elected president political office. It's fucked up. It's totally fucked up. So this book might be worth taking a look at. And according to Milbank, he says, indeed, the United States has already gone through what the CIA identifies as the first two phases of insurgency, the pre-insurgency and the incipient conflict phases, and only time will tell whether the final phase, open insurgency, began with the sacking of the Capitol by Donald Trump supporters on January 6th. So, it is, we have had a civil war before. And we could have another one again. But, the elites love this shit. The Elon Musks and the Charles Kochs and the Jeff Bezos types, they love this shit because they get to do whatever the hell and nobody's paying attention to what the crap they're doing. While the country burns, while the country is being destroyed from within. And like I said, both political parties they're far gone. We know the GOP is. We know they've been out to lunch forever. For years now. But now the Democratic Party is going that way too. Because of its embrace of BS. But I know that was kind of a stream of consciousness video. I kind of apologize for it, and by the way, the noise you hear is the dishwasher and the dryer, so it's that kind of day. I finally got my winter break in, so I'll be able to sit back and cry my eyes out like I've been doing off and on. And, you know, that's never going to change. I mean, you know, it never will. So, anyway, that's something else to feel optimistic about, is the near destruction of the United States. Oh, and by the way, there's some crackpots that are moving to try to get Oregon, everything but the Willamette Valley and Portland. They're trying to make it all part of Idaho. Go figure. And it still doesn't change the fact I have to drive 500 miles to get to this person's grave. But there's a movement afoot to try to turn the rest of the state to red. Well, nobody lives in the southern and eastern part of Oregon. All the population is Eugene up to Portland, through Portland. Almost all the population's there, 4-point-something million. So that's so damn stupid. But it's indicative of how fucked up our country is. That increasingly things are getting out of control. But anyway, I'm done. This is too long a video.